Yeah, yeah. So that I don't go over time, it's in human nature. Once you get excited and you enjoy your presentation, then you run off and you don't realize the time. So let me put on my stopwatch, and I hope my colleague will, by the way, just show fingers that side and tell me, listen, you are almost about to finish. Once again, good morning, everybody. I'm here to share with you NIPDB, because most of the time, people still don't know the existence of the NIPDB, Namibia Investment Promotion and Development Board, and they still keep on asking the questions, what does the NIPDB do? What do they represent itself? They represent completely different things, but for today, for investors, we are going to discuss two aspects that connects to ease of doing business. Those two are policy advocacy and then investor services. From investor services, policy advocacy plug in. So let's start exactly what NIPDB mandate is actually. We are only there as the Namibia Investment Promotion and Development Board to develop investments, to promote and facilitate, and then we are also involved in MSME development. Those are the main categories, and then there's different ones plugging in. With us, we plug with investor services, we plug into investment development, and we plug into promotion and facilitation. But what we create result into MSME development. The role of the NIPDB, you might have heard actually in the newspapers, over the radio, that the NIPDB keep on traveling, they go all places. I remember 10 years back, or 5 years back even, when I was still not with the NIPDB. When we used to travel with PwC and you find somewhere, you're in seminars or something, and people start asking, Namibia, where? And you needed to explain Nelson Mandela, South Africa, and we are somewhere there. Now we don't need to do that anymore. Because what did NIPDB do? NIPDB traveled outside, promote Namibia and tell the world, Namibia exists. Namibia's doors is open. There's so much opportunities. But remember, it's something else to promote Namibia's doors is open and there's so much opportunities, and then we start talking about ease of doing business, bureaucracy, bottlenecks, constraints, etc. But that's part of living. We are there to remove those bottlenecks. So what does the NIPDB do? If you look on the y-axis, we do for the activities, we have the phases that these activities will move in the x-axis. NIPDB goes out there, they try to promote, not NIPDB, Namibia as a whole, all of us here, on what we have to offer for the world out there. The best part is, in this way we promote, we try to attract. It might be that we do over, let's say, 30 business meetings, 30 countries. It doesn't guarantee that people will come back. You know, our business meeting, of course we will, and we are interested, etc., etc. But rather drop in the bucket than nothing at all. So what we do, I won't go in detail, otherwise I'll go 5 minutes itself. During this attracting periods, we try to attract businesses to Namibia through BB meetings, through seminars, conferences, etc. that we do. That's where we start promoting this Namibia itself. When it comes back, it might be that you have met 10 clients, then only 5 decide they will actually come back. Then they visit Namibia and we connect them to everybody on the ground, where we try to find out, can we actually push these people to make a decision that they will actually stay or come back and invest in Namibia. That's where we are already in the investor services itself. If they are there, of the 5, say for example, they came, it doesn't guarantee that all 5 will go back. Of those 5, some of them might actually realize there's too many bureaucracy. The policies are not yet in place. It doesn't cater for what they have come for. So there's a lot of things that happen in the background itself. But if we grab one and we see we can run with this one, then we try to push that one to make a difference itself. With all of this, let's take the 2 that have decided to actually invest in Namibia to make a difference, create jobs. That's the most important wording nowadays, create jobs. With all of those ones that actually have made the decision, there's a process to go within that. We have what we call a pipeline. So You come into pre-lead, there's now the part where you come and you check out, do I actually want to invest in Namibia itself? And when you have made that decision, that's where we start now to help. Remember, we facilitate. NIPDB doesn't issue. We don't have that mandate. If we had it, life would have been perfect. But unfortunately, we are dependent on all other entities itself. We are just trying to bring the entities together. I won't go into detail in that one because the next slide will tell how we connect all entities that are involved in actually making it happen. So NIPDB's role, policy advocacy, which Nangula Shabali will share more information on. And then we come to investor experience. They do the facilitation services. We have the one-stop center. We have aftercare services and investor services. Facilitation services, that's the part where we say, we take your application wherever it is, whether it's at City of Windhoek, that Roland had just mentioned, whether it's at Home Affairs, whether it's at BIPA, whether it's at NAMRA. We facilitate it, we fast-track it for you. That's what we do. That's in facilitation services and in investor services. Normally, I have, or most of the times, I would say, around about 40% of the time, people have the tendency, because I say investors are also people. We are just human beings. It's just that we are naming you are a doctor, you are a teacher, etc. But we are all human beings. And it's in human nature to always come at 7 to 7 to remove a bottleneck or a constraint. That's what NIPDB is there for. We are there for you to knock on our doors and to tell us what is your constraint, what is your bottleneck, where do you need assistance. You might expect us to do it in 2 hours. Unfortunately, because we are just a facilitator, it might take us actually 2 days. But the good thing is we don't give up. You keep us accountable and responsible. It's nice to have a place to go to and to say, you are responsible. I came to you. I told you what my issue is. In the aftercare services are normally for those investors that are more than, doesn't necessarily need to be in years, but they are already operational and they are experiencing constraints. Or some of those investors actually want to reinvest into the country. Those are the parts where we do aftercare services to find out, are you still well? Where can we assist, etc. Sometimes these aftercare visits come on demand. We might not reach out ourselves. Some of them we do reach out. If we had a huge budget, we would have reached out to all of them. Moving to the next one. It's not moving, sorry. It's not moving. No, I with the arrow.
No, don't worry. Yeah.
So I move there.
Yeah.
It changed now.
No, I think.
Okay, it's there.
Okay.
So like we say in the investor services, we have the one-stop center of all of these. The rest are just complementing what we do in the one-stop center. We do visas, permits, licensing, attainment. We support both new and existing investors, both local and foreign itself. We try to create ease of doing business. We'll go into detail. We remove bottlenecks, constraints. Don't talk about the turnaround time yet. And in the one-stop center, we try to encourage investors to register with us so that it becomes easier to know you in person and then be able to render services. At the same time, we ask the locals or whoever to register as service providers so that we can connect the investors to the locals that provide services that they might require. And most importantly, we are the bridge between the investors. I won't say OMAS alone, because I remember Harold was asking, what is OMAS? OMAS is offices, ministries, and offices, and agencies, and the industry players themselves. The one-stop center, what do we have in the one-stop center? Because we cannot assist a single window system. Single window system would have been an online service system where you can actually do it from the desk of your house. Unfortunately, we cannot afford it. So what we tried to create was a physical one-stop center. So we have all this representation in the one-stop center at NIPDB. When we started off, we just started off with focal persons. That means those offices, those 9 offices were completely empty. The only one that was occupied that we know required a lot of services was the Home Affairs office itself. And that's doing excellent at this point in time. Our relation with Home Affairs, the good support that we get. For the rest of them, we had focal people. Until last year, December, Cabinet decided it must actually be filled with people so that the investor can address a person and not for NIPDB to first connect with a meeting and then the focal person come in and then come and meet in that office. Now we have a representative. But keep in mind, in the one-stop center, it will not be that simple. You cannot come and ask, for example, a tax clearance from NAMRA. That person is supposed to be a business advisor. That means that person, you keep that person responsible for whoever that person need to connect you with. Sure, that was fast.
Yeah, very good.
Sure. No, the 9 minutes are gone. So that representative only connect you to the person. That's a business advisor. But at least you have somebody you can keep accountable, that can fast track and that can follow up for you. Like I said, let's not touch the turnaround time yet. But it's a good feeling to know that you have somebody whom you can knock at his or her door and keep accountable for your problem to be solved, which kind of also lead to ease of doing business, removing bottlenecks, removing constraints itself. In the one-stop center, those ones are what we have. And Justine, where are you? Justine at the back is the senior manager for the one-stop center itself. So she's responsible for these different entities to make sure that they get to the turnaround time, that they actually do what you require and render the services. Those are the different facilitation services. We just highlight a few of them, but actually all of them, it doesn't matter in which government entity, government office, or in which public entity it is, we facilitate those ones. And why we created the one-stop center is because now luckily BIPA have almost moved next to our offices, but all other offices is around Windhoek. But imagine you have only one place to come to and resolve all your issues. That's a good feeling. You don't need to drive to the south, north, or west of Windhoek. And on top of that, I'm trying to promote this one, Harold, digital nomad visa. We have found many people that want to come and work remotely from Namibia. With Home Affairs, we have created this. They can actually come for 6 months, come and work remotely. And like we say, jobs are created differently down the value chain. It might start with somebody that comes only for 6 months, but imagine the value chain. Who else get employed in that period that that person is starting to visit Namibia for 6 months? I think you might have already seen the MICE visa itself. For some of you that might host events also, it's also done through the one-stop center. If you have an event that is hosting more than 10 people, what we normally do is, again, it involves ease of doing business. We attract events, but in the past, these people needed to go through a whole system to attend the events. Now it's a shorter way on MICE visa itself. So if you are more interested, the one-stop center can share more information on that. In our investor experience services, this is the whole department on itself. Meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. Meetings, 10 people more, not one-on-one meetings, please. Sometimes people get involved. International meetings, so Justine says. So in our investor services, I might have only promoted the one-stop center, but remember, there's many others. There's so much to say, so much limited time. But at least you know where NIPDB is. If you want to find out more, our doors are open. If you want to arrange a meeting, if you have an issue with any other constraint that you have, reach out to us. Like I say, we are not there necessarily to do the issuing and the permitting, etc. But I always believe in 5 S's when it comes to not necessarily my department, actually the all NIPDB. It's very important for the investor to feel that that person is served, that person got the support. We do our best with the speed here and there, the clutch and the brakes might give in, but we get it fixed and try to resolve it. And we are there to satisfy the investor at the end of the day, but most importantly, to solve. We cannot let people walk away and feel that they were not helped. It's okay, along the journey, you'll feel frustrated and feel that you have waited along. But you know what's the best part? At the end, when you get it, when you have solved something, the feeling of that person, it's almost like that person forgot the duration it takes, the turnaround time. But at the end of the day, we are still here to serve everybody, to try to make a business, to contribute to ease of doing business. So we are just a person in the middle. But we forget that we are the person in the middle. We are supposed to say that We are all together in this. We just want to resolve it all together, not NIPDB on its own. Thank you so much. I'm going to give over to Nangula.
To stay here, sir. I quickly just want to re-emphasize the importance of the NIPDB. I work with them a lot. Yes, we share frustrations, but we also get results. We've really done a lot in getting investors here, albeit at the last minute, 1 minute to 12, or 1 day before the departure of the investor from Germany or whatever. We got a lot of things right. I must mention one thing. The NIPDB goes out of their way, and very often I get a notification via WhatsApp. I'm on weekend already on a Friday afternoon at 5:30. The work visa of Mr. X has been approved or whatever. This is really commendable. What is more commendable is that Jessica Hawanga's daughter has got her graduation today. Is that correct?
Matric farewell, it's a girl.
Matric farewell. And she's actually found the time to be here with us. That just shows the commitment of the NIPDB. Let's give Jessica a big round of applause. Thank you. Now over to Nangula Sheavali. She's the manager at the NIPDB, and she's going to talk about policies. Thank you, policies.
Thank you. Guten Morgen. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here. Roland, thank you for your presentation. I think it showed very much to us that we're all in the same boat in terms of trying to ease business, trying to deal with the bottlenecks that exist, and just trying to make sure that job creation, economic growth, and so forth is happening. I just want to make it very clear, first of all, that NIPDB is not a policy owner. What we try to do is to influence policy, to make sure that things are moving, that the wheels are moving, and that we're trying to get things being done more speedily where possible. So our focus is really on policy advocacy, and why we advocate for policy reform is really to help shape the investment climate, to be able to be more attractive for investment as a country, to promote policies that allow greater benefits to be extracted from FDI or from investments generally, and then to build national competitiveness in a global economy. And these are some of the things that Roland spoke to. And also just generally when we look at the one-stop shop and so forth, it's really around reducing that cost of bureaucracy, reducing the length of time that bureaucracy creates in terms of getting things done and so forth. So that's our policy role, is really to advocate for reform where necessary, to speed things up, and to highlight to government, acting as an intermediary between private sector and public sector on what needs to be changed in order to move forward. So some of the ways in which we've engaged with government and with private sector in terms of policy reform is in terms of providing detailed policy input. So we do the research that's required. We track Namibia's competitiveness. We provide support to entities such as IMD, which works on the World Competitiveness Yearbook, or we've provided support to World Bank on the Be Ready report, which I think should be coming out anytime in the next month or so, the latest report. And so forth. So we provide detailed policy inputs to the policy owners. Some of the examples of the policies that we've provided inputs on are the Investment Promotion and Facilitation Bill. Unfortunately, that hasn't been finalized yet, but we've been providing input on that, on the Special Economic Zones Bill, on the National Informal Economy Startups and Entrepreneurship Development Policy, on the Migration Bill that is currently being reviewed, and a number of other policies and legislation. We do the research, provide advisory notes to different entities whose work is impacted by those indices and reports that we get insights from. Consultation and support, so doing private sector consultation or participating in government consultations that are required. And then finally, participating in regional platforms and so forth at the SACU, SADC, AU, and other levels. We've done quite a bit of research on Namibia's competitiveness, and we've been able to get cabinet support on making sure that Namibia subscribes to the IMD World Competitiveness Index. That's been important for us because we need to be able to track Namibia's competitiveness globally. And with the end of the World Economic Forum's Global Competitiveness Index, we needed to find another index that we could track on. We also look at other indices, and importantly, as part of this index, we get a sense of what is industry feeling about the business climate, what are the issues that need to be addressed, what are the key bottlenecks for industry, and so forth. And based on the last IMD index, these were some of the key priorities that came up. Ease of doing business, of course, being a major one, and that being looked at as the extent to which Namibia encourages enterprises to perform in a profitable and responsible manner. We know that when people set up businesses, it's to create a profit. Of course, there are a lot of systemic issues that we're trying to solve: unemployment, poverty, inequality, and so forth. But we also have that understanding that profits are what drive businesses as well, and good profit, not the evil profit. And so that's something that we've been working on to engage with government, to say, okay, we've got a lot of bottlenecks in these issues, both at the business level, but also at the overall level, to say these are policies that need to be changed, or these are processes that need to be dealt with for the investor that's coming in and is finding a bottleneck that they're trying to deal with. Another big issue is in terms of skills availability and industry absorption. So the research shows that Namibia spends a lot per capita when it comes to education, but the outcomes are not what we need. It's not what the industry needs, and so forth. So there's a clear issue there, and that's something that we're working on also. We have a department at NIPDB called the Talent, Innovation and Productivity Department. Some of you may be aware of it because of the Youth Incentive Program that has been developed through NIPDB together with NAMRA. And those are some of the things that we're looking at. Where are the issues in terms of skills that need to be availed for the new industries that are coming up? What are the skills that are required for our economic diversification and for increasing our economic complexity? Those are some of the things that we're looking at also, but working hand in hand with other agencies and with the private sector. And then, of course, innovation capabilities. And one of the key issues there is just digitization of processes at the government level, especially, but also making sure that our economy is ready for digital transformation that's taking place rapidly. Some of the areas that we've worked on in terms of improving the policy landscape, these are just a few. There are so many different policies that impact the business climate. In fact, a few years ago, NCCI issued a study that spoke to 70 different laws or policies that hadn't been finalized and so forth. And we're actually tracking the progression of many of those. But some of the key ones that we've been looking at, of course, there's the Foreign Investment Act, which sort of regulates or oversees the foreign investment climate. With the change to the Investment Promotion and Facilitation Bill, the key area there in terms of the change was to make sure that local investors are also taken care of in terms of that legislation. That was one of the key issues. The other key issue for that bill has been with regards to making the space for incentives, for investment incentives. As many of you know, the EPZ grandfathering period comes to an end in December. And so for us, this is really urgent. The investment bill, but also the Special Economic Zones Bill, which have both been set as priorities by Her Excellency the President. And then, of course, BIPA has been working quite extensively on the company laws. So I won't speak too much on that, but we do have a representative that is providing input from the NIPDB side. And then we've been working very closely with the Ministry of Home Affairs, Immigration, Safety and Security with regards to the migration bill. Within our input on that bill, one of the key things that had come up by the high-level panel on the Namibian economy was looking at a, let me say, residence by investment visa, rather than using the term golden visa. But that's something that we're looking at, and we're working closely with Home Affairs on these issues. And then, of course, there's the land bill, which I think impacts business enormously. It was supposed to be tabled in Parliament, I think, 2 weeks ago, but that's something where we've also given our input in terms of time frames and leaseholds and so forth. So that's just a sense of some of the areas that we've been looking at. Now, in terms of engaging and where you can work with NIPDB to provide input on policies, we have a competitiveness working group. This is still being finalized. We formally had an ease of doing business committee and a policy working committee that were dealing on policy issues and ease of doing business issues, but more on the processes of things. Both of these things relate heavily to competitiveness. And so we thought, let's bring these two committees together and really focus on making sure we're dealing with the ease of doing business issues that are impacting competitiveness as a whole and pushing on policy issues from there. And we're working closely with the National Planning Commission on that. Then we've got our productivity task forces. These are sector-specific task forces where we bring together public sector and private sector to identify what the issues are, the bottlenecks, whether it's a policy one or a process issue or whatever the case is, and try to rectify that. So those are sector-specific. Currently, we've got 5 PTFs. The first one, I think, was focused on high-value fruit, and that is still ongoing. Then we've got one on the bovine value chain, so beef and meat, and I think we're looking at small stock in there now also. We've got one that's focused on the electricity supply industry. That's an important one because we've also had a lot of interest on renewable energy. But then there are a lot of bottlenecks in terms of the process, in terms of independent power production and feeding into a grid and the infrastructural issues and so forth. So these are the things that we're engaging on. And then an automotive task force. And then we've got one on the culture and creative industry also. So within these PTFs, and please let us know if you'd like to be engaged in any of these, we really work together to resolve some of the challenges. And what we try to do is to have a political figure that sort of is the political champion so that they can help drive some of those processes. And then finally, we have the Namibia Public-Private Forum, which I would like to speak a little bit more about and to engage your participation on, and I'll get to those. But really the outcomes of these platforms for engagement are in terms of increasing investment flows, so local and foreign, supporting local industry, enhancing public-private trust, and then of course with the ultimate goal of job creation. So I think I've spoken about the productivity task forces. With the Namibia Public-Private Forum, we had a directive within HPP2 to institutionalize public-private dialogue. The NTF, which is headed by Rodney, actually does quite a bit in terms of public-private dialogue at the sectoral level. This was something that needed to be driven at the national level and to make sure that there's high-level support from that. And this is something that we've been working on. We got a cabinet approval on it last year. So far, we've had a coordinating committee set up that has 6 public sector and 6 private sector entities involved. And the theme for this year, and it should be taking place this year, we had a meeting with Her Excellency this week where she committed that she would chair the session, is to focus on driving decent and sustainable job creation, but from that perspective of enhancing Namibia's competitiveness. So what we're hoping for with the NAMPPF is really to improve collaboration and trust, to make sure that private sector has a platform with the president to highlight the issues that we're talking about today, and at the sectoral level also to say these are the things that we're struggling with, and making sure that the high level decision makers are in the room to be tasked by Her Excellency with fixing some of these bottlenecks. Of course, the implementation is the key on this. So there's always these platforms for talking, but the implementation is what's going to be key. And what we're hoping to deliver on is making sure that there's evidence-based strategy papers that are being done, and then that there's monitoring and evaluation that takes place. And the president has tasked NPC with making sure that this is being tracked properly. So we're hoping that this will be a platform to deal with some of the issues that we're raising here and some of the things that have long been an issue for business and for business climate. But these are some of the things that we're working on. If you'd like to register for the NAMPPF, you can just use the link over here. I'm happy to provide it to you or to share it with Harold and the team to provide it to you. So that's really our policy advocacy role. I know we've just been talking about what we do, and that's to start the engagement. Unfortunately, we couldn't go into all the detail, but we're happy to continue engaging. Please feel free to reach out to us and to engage NIPDB in terms of moving forward and enhancing this business climate. Of course, it comes down to implementation in the long run, but I think it's a start in terms of engaging with the public and private sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nagula. And I think the message to the Namibia Public-Private Forum to be formed is that we are ready for it. and it's maybe overdue. Are we ready for it?
Yes.
Okay, we want to partake.
Yes.
Okay. I will not take questions now. Thank you very much for your very professional presentation, Nangula Shiavali. I will now hand over to our moderator of note, Ms. Benita Hermer. She's the Vice Chairperson of the Forum of German-Speaking Namibians. Now it's time for questions. Some of them we've received in advance, some we will take now. You can also ask questions to the NIPDB. Maybe the odd question to Roland can still be posed. Benita's got a whole idea and a whole concept of how she's going to share this and how she's going to present it. And let's give Benita a big round of applause. Over to you, Benita.
Thank you, Harald. Yes, this is how it works. I have a long list of participants who will not give presentations. I will request them to shortly sketch their role at the entity that they represent. Then I will allow 3 questions. Oh, and the role needs to be sketched in 3 minutes. Then I will hand the microphone to the floor. You do not need to come here to the front. The panelists themselves will basically come here so that our public, our outside can see their faces. So we will start by introducing each one. Then each one shortly sketches how he or she represents the entity, what basically the role is. And then I will have 3 questions and you will have 3 questions, or 2 or 1, if the first one is already answered satisfactorily. I request you to, A, when you have a question, make a note beforehand so that it can be posed in 30 seconds or so. I know that we are angry sometimes with public entities, but please measure your tone, be polite, be friendly. Let's not get an aggressive undertone here. And we don't want the last 5 panelists to run away before we close today. Then I would very much like you to, everybody, the panelists as well as the public here today, friendly, short, to the point, no long explanations, no anecdotes. My sister said when my brother-in-law did this and this, you know, no anecdotes like that. We want it short and to the point. Now, I know that Ms. Lisa Figaji from the city of Windhoek is under enormous time pressure. So I will ask her first to come to the front. She is, let me quickly get her title right. She is the section head of business development at the city of Windhoek, but she's prepared to answer questions that do not necessarily relate to business development. So I will ask her to show your face to the camera, and then we'll continue with the questions. The camera is here. I am there. Thank you.
Very good morning, everybody.
Oh, yeah, okay. So we can have 2 microphones. Great. Thank you very much. I originally addressed the section head, I think, Mrs. Steenkamp, but thank you for coming today. And there will be some critical questions, I know, to the city of Windhoek, but I think you're very well prepared. So my first one is, please introduce yourself and the role that you play at the entity that you represent.
Okay, very good morning, everybody. As Ms. Herman introduced me, my name is Lisa Bigaji. I am the section head for business development within the economic development division. I think that's important. And Mr. ReLive Steenkamp is my strategic executive for the Department of Economic Development and Community Services. And I think it's just for orientation purposes, what does Economic Development Community Services take care of? We have got 5 arms. We do emergency and disaster risk management. We are responsible for health and environmental management. We are the Economic Development Division, as well as the Community, Youth and Community Division, as well as, last but certainly not least, Parks and Gardens. So that's basically what Mr. ReLive Steenkamp looks at. And me specifically, within the Economic Development Division, I am responsible for investment promotion and facilitation, as well as for out advertising within the Division of Economic Development.
Thank you very much. So now my first question, why does it take so terribly long to get a certificate of fitness?
Yeah, Ms. Hammond, I think there's a couple of things that I'd like to mention with regards to business registration without diverting from your question. We have, I'm very happy to announce that we are re-engineering that entire process as we speak. We are acknowledging the fact that some of the business registration certification process has taken a lot of time. What I'd like to just put a little bit of a picture there. We have got on our books over 22,000 business registration certificates, of which only a little bit over 6,500 are actually active registration certificates. So how does that impact our work? A lot of the time, we are managing deregistrations versus actually managing the applications of the registrations itself. The other bottleneck that I'd just like to mention is that according to the International Labour Organization, we are supposed to have within the city 16 occupational health practitioners per 100,000 inhabitants. Just to give an example, to be able to effectively get out to the individual businesses and do the necessary health checks and balances. As we speak at the moment, we have got 16 positions overall of occupational health therapists for the entire city. And this is just an example of which we've got 14 positions filled to date. So in terms of actually going out there, and there's a question of what can we do with the limited resources that we have got. But having said that, it's important to note that we are looking at the re-engineering of that process. And we can say very confidently that within this financial year, that section will be in such a way that we will be automated to a large extent. I mean, that's the way to go, automation, and that's what we're looking at. And I think that will take the city, leaps and bounds to ensure that business fitness certificates are done quicker, more efficiently, and at the end of the day, effectively.
Great, I think that was very informative. Second question, you used to have a fantastic city police on a bicycle squad that patrolled the CBD. At the moment, we struggle that especially tourists don't feel safe because there are many beggars, there are many pickpockets, and they don't come to the CBD any longer. Windhoek is getting a bad reputation on tourism websites as well. So that means that we're actually losing business in the city center. How can that be addressed?
Thank you very much. Ms. Hammer, we really have got in migration, and I think Mr. Roland would agree, and one of our biggest challenges of the city at the moment is this explosion of the reality on the ground. So we have not increased our numbers in terms of policing versus the number of influx of people that are coming into the city. We have got a smart partnering with communities. We're doing great works working with neighborhood watches, and I think anybody who's formed part and parcel of a neighborhood watch would agree with me that has been much more effective than individuals reporting to city police. And I'm very happy to say that that's working. I must also mention that our CCTV cameras are growing in numbers. And I wish to thank the business community for each and every one who has come on board and actually supported the city in that initiative. I can talk specifically about two, coming to the question about beggars. And unfortunately, we have a lot of street children and so forth. If you go down Sam Nujoma Drive, close to our offices, you'll see 2 new cameras have been put up to also, respond to a big problem that we have, people harassing tourists coming down that street, going to Hilton and so forth. And the technology has improved so tremendously. It's a little bit of us moving to Big Brother scenario, but it's happening all over the world. That if you can't be everywhere at the same time, at least one can use technology to your advantage. City Police, as I said, we have got 11 staff members who are actually patrolling the CBD. The CBD is part of my portfolio, if you want to put it that way. We've had a lot of consultations with property owners in the CBD. So we have a combination, and they are actually there, a combination of foot patrol, bicycle patrol, as well as undercover policemen. 11 of them just in the CBD. They are not always visible because there's always a hotspot. We know from the statistics from City Police where those hotspots are. I know that Zoo Park, for example, is something that's come up a lot of the time in terms of where to actually deploy the limited resources that we do have. Now, having said that, I just want to give you an example of the latest cameras, what they can actually do. So the camera that is just above the city of Windhoek can actually identify, because I know the quality and technology is, outdated over time. That specific camera can identify a car driving into Groot Alp.
Wow.
It's on the hill. It takes across the city, and you can actually identify not the person, not the number plate, but you can identify the make and the color of the vehicle that's going into Groot Alp. So technology is improving, and my appeal to every businessman here today, please take hands with the city of Windhoek. I've actually brought my book just to also mention to you that we've changed numbers, and I think that's important because we had an old PABX system that was energy reliant.
Inefficient.
No, energy reliant. So if the electricity went off, we were in trouble. You couldn't get hold of us. So I just have a new, and we have a WhatsApp number as well from City Police that I just like to mention to people. I'd like to go away giving practical information. And the WhatsApp number that works is 081 036 3443. And I think that is going directly to our call center. And then the new numbers are, the landlines are 290-3340 and 290-339. So it's 39 at the end and 40 at the night. So they run after each other. So, yes, certainly. 061-290-3339, and I think it'll be easier that way, and 3340, so that they run concurrently, one after the other. 081 036 3443.
What we can do is that Ms. Figaji writes us the numbers, and we'll forward them on everybody who's now on our list. Okay? So that we can always be certain that we can reach the city of Windhoek.
Okay, good.
Good. Next one, and I know that falls under your you mentioned earlier parks, and I always think that around the municipality building, the garden looks beautiful, but as when you get away from municipality buildings, it gets less and less. So Zoo Park is really breathing neglect. Robert Mugabe Avenue, the northern part, trees are being felled but never replaced. And I know you mentioned earlier in a private discussion that we can always come to those engagement discussions that you have, which I find very commendable. But when I once said that we as a business would be prepared to sponsor trees for Zoo Park, the man said, madam, that is that is much more difficult than you think. And I thought, oh, can I go there myself and plant those trees? Because they are not being fertilized, they're not being pruned, and they're not being replaced when one dies. So parks is a problem, and I want to enhance the general air of neglect that you see in the city of Windhoek. If you could quickly approach that, and then my last point.
Sure. Ms. Hammer, I think what I'd like to say with regards to that is that we have at the city, Parks and Gardens, just last year concluded what we call the Public Open Space Master Plan. So we have a whole list of public areas that we would really like to upgrade. So in terms of playgrounds, to beautify what is in and around the city. One, I think to a large extent, wellness goes out the window when there's no money. We're the last people that get money from a departmental perspective. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I always call us the Economic Development Division and Community Services. We are the wellness of the city, in essence. It's some people would say, the end of the spectrum in terms of what is needed. Crisis, housing, crisis, water, electricity, basic needs. So when the beautification comes up and it's budget discussions, we get what's left. So in that regard, it is very unfortunate that not much comes our way. However, we have got in the master plan now clear guidelines as to how we can take hands with the private sector and adopt a park, for example, is going to become a reality. We've had a lot of inquiries from, and I won't mention specifics, but from banks, for example, where they wanted to beautify even Zoo Park. You can just imagine, and other areas around in Kleinwindhoek and Pioneers Park and so forth. We just didn't have a framework how we were going to do that. Because you must remember, if you want to benefit from that, you're obviously going to invest in that premises, but what are you going to be able to get out of it and how that will be managed? So that we needed to clarify and document in the master plan. That already stands, has been approved, and now it's the rollout thereof. And I think, given, of course, it's going to be a phased approach, there's over 22 areas that have been identified. We're not going to be able to do everything in this financial year, but the Parks and Gardens division is prioritizing who's coming first, what areas are going to be looked at, and then go out and actually, together with ourselves from business development, reach out to the private sector and ask, would you like to adopt a park? This is how you can get involved. This is what you can do, and we will be able to give you this in return. Regarding Zoo Park, ladies and gentlemen, because it's in the CBD, just one quick word with regards to that. That has been up for a lot of discussion over the last 2 years in terms of the beautification, because there was a plan to redo the entire park itself. That unfortunately hasn't gotten off the ground as quickly as we would have liked to, but there is definitely still plans to redo the park in its entirety. This is why we haven't really reinvested much in that area. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. You actually took the proposals out of my mouth. Because adopt a park or even adopt a tree would be a good start for Windhoek. We all know that climate change is happening. The more trees in a city, the lower the temperature. That is a proven fact. So now I will allow 3 pertinent short questions. Don't tell us about the potholes in front of your own home or something like that, please not. But 3 questions. Wolfgang Bückendorf first. You need to go here. Wolfgang, you need to go here because that's also being streamed.
Very short and quick one is we're all quite nervous and trying to keep our aggressions back when we see taxi drivers. Is there any plan to make more parking areas for taxi drivers and that we get that organized? Because I mean, they stop in front of the main roads and cause a lot of harassment, and I think there should be something to be done. The second question would be bicycle. There were, I know, some times ago, plans that we have bicycle lanes in town, so that also even from Katatura, from where they could use bicycles to come in town to do something for our pollution as well.
Is that 2 or 3? You can take that microphone. Andreas? Also here. It's a bit short here.
Is that 2 or 3 now, or?
No.
Okay, now
Just the first one.
confirming. Okay, that's the first one. Would you like me to answer that, and then we can take the next
Yes,
one?
I think so.
So with regards to taxis, there is a consultation at the moment in terms with our urban and transport planning division in terms of regulation they are in terms of taxis. There is public consultations actually taking place currently. And I must mention at this juncture that I do have a senior of mine in this room, just in case he wants to come in and add a few words. Sorry, Mr. Kanjo, I'm extremely bad at the introductory part. So Mr. Kanjo, Brian Kanjo is our strategic executive for electricity. He is also here, but that doesn't necessarily have to do anything with you, but I'm just thinking now. Taxis. There is, as I said, it's being done by our external consultant that we have a plan in terms of what are the needs, where are the needs, and combined with that is our City of Windhoek structural plan. I don't know if anybody's heard about it. It's been also discussed extensively with our urban and transport planning division. Now, the actual structural plan looks at various types of nodes, not only business nodes, commercial nodes, but it also looks at green nodes, it looks at transport nodes, and it sort of like combines the entire structure of the city. What does the city look like now? Where are we growing? How are we growing? And what we're going to look like in 20 years from now. So that structural plan, it's been under discussion for quite some time. It went to council, it came back, council wanted more consultation. We're doing that, but it's really in the final stages. And I think without preempting, I foresee that it might even get through council before the end of this year. So that will answer a lot of the question in terms of space. Where do taxis harbor themselves? Where are they allowed to actually pick up and drop off people?
Okay. Bicycle lanes?
Bicycle lanes, no, it is part of our non-motorized transport strategy. We do have that in-house. We have done a couple of trials, which unfortunately haven't been very successful. I must honestly admit that. If you just go Bach Street, there was the whole concentration around NAST as a first attempt. And you will have seen we put up cones, we divided the streets and all of that, and they were flattened within weeks. Now, to do that, bad drivers. It's dangerous at the moment. I think to make it a reality, the city has to start planning now and put roads in place that take into consideration going forward. So maybe not in our generation, but maybe our grandchildren will get to really see the benefit there are, but that's a long-term plan. But our non-motorized transport strategy is there, and it really requires infrastructural changes to make it a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. We're really getting some good answers here. Second question, even shorter. Certainly, ma'am.
Okay. Thanks very much. My question is...
Can you quickly give your name, please?
My name is Evelina Kalume. I'm a community leader from Katutura East, Regional Office. I want to, about City of Windhoek. These kids in town of Ahimba, kids or what? Mm-hmm. Yeah, like they look like they was disappeared, and city police was involved. But now I found some of them, they are very small. Mm. And I took really to city police at Venil. What he asked me was very surprised. He said, no, we have nothing to do anymore with the kids. They're going and come back again. But to keep our town clean, it's a problem. So, and the second one is about Ponsmara Market at North Industry.
Yes.
I don't know. I was also working there, but I left. Mm-hmm. But City of Windhoek don't really take care of their markets. I don't understand. You say it's not easy to put people there, but the people is easy to balance things in the area, in the street around, like shop, stop and shop. Mm-hmm. in Kariangaba. The people who are selling there, they make a lot of money. Right. And they can afford to pay rent in Postmana. Right. But I don't know why you put him still there. Why you don't shift them to go and do business there? There are vegetables lying around in the street. And they are not even Namibians. They make a lot of money. I always stand there. A lot of thousand monies is from Zimbabweans. Women and men and children. And they are sleeping inside there. They even sleep there. So please, City of Windhoek.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay.
I'll swap sides so that Ms. Mfigaji can answer that question.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for those two questions. I'll start with the street children. Yes, it's happening. We see the kids and they come and they go. You're absolutely right. What is happening to them? Sometimes we see them, sometimes we don't. It's truly a challenge that we've taken up, and City Police has removed many of our street children. What I mean by removed, taken them home. We know of a few kids that come from Witplay, and they are known, they are regular visitors to Windhoek. We have physically driven them home, put them back in their caregivers' arms, home, put hence they come from, only to have them coming back again and again and again. So what the city has done is we're working together with the Ministry of Gender, because we realize that it's not sustainable. Two things is we're running a campaign, do not give any money to beggars, and these kids are put out there by their elders to ask. I mean, it's a question of working on our sentiment. It's psychological more than anything else. That's why the children are there. So I think from our side, if we can all just stop being sensitive with regards to that. We also have a flyer about not supporting the children on the street, but we have got a list of centers that you can financially support. And these are the centers where the kids would then go to and get soup kitchen, food, shelter, clothing even. So we do have that information. We've got flyers available. I think we should put it back on our website, just to inform the community where you can actually give, and it will be used for the benefit of who it's intended for, instead of maybe just a child being put there as a forefront. And as I say, the removal of the children, you cannot take them if their mother is also there. I mean, there's certain limitations that we do have. We can only encourage the mother and child to go to a shelter, if ma'am understands that. But we are working together with the ministry to have a longer term, more sustainable solution to this problem, because it's just recurring all the time. Quickly with regards to Bonsmara, interesting. So that's Chinatown, what we would call just next to Chinatown. Bonsmara Market, just for orientation, if people don't know where that is, Dartmouth Street. So instead of turning right to Chinatown, you would go left to Bintu Cash and Carry, close by there, just for orientation purposes. So that market was built, unfortunately, like we are, people go where business is. There wasn't a lot of footprint there. People didn't support the market, and they set up in front of Chinatown or along Chinatown, because that's where people were. People weren't turning left, they were turning right. So we understand that that market has not been used as its intent and purposes, but it was built specifically to be able to remove it and put it elsewhere. The city is actually working together with the companies from Chinatown who have approached us to look at the AF on the corner, Dartmouth, Newcastle. There's that open piece of land that is very expensive to build on, because there's a huge dip there. So we're looking at filling that up and moving that facility over, and also looking at management of not only people, but also taxis in that area, as well as trading, which has become quite prolific in that area at the moment. In terms of Stop and Shop, ma'am, we've had a cleanup last year together with Her Worship, the then Mayor. Stop and Shop is also an area that we're looking at too, in terms of what people and how many people can be facilitated in that area, because you're absolutely right. It looks like business has moved onto the street versus the people actually working from inside to Congeni Market. That's Stop and Shop Market. We are working to come up with a it's again traffic regulation there. People and the competition to work from our road reserves. Is it permissible? Are people allowed to trade on our road reserves? And also how that can be done in a more controlled manner. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. May I request from the floor, if you have questions, that they be linked to direct business topics, so that we have that. Last question. I'm so happy that you came.
Yeah, so thank you very much. My name is mentioned already. Yeah, my question or questions is around one only, taxi rank and taxi driving in town, which has become really a health hazard, because taxis nowadays stop anywhere. Immediately they see a customer, they just stop immediately. What is the municipality doing about that?
Totally agree. Sometimes they stop and still wait for a passenger to arrive from somewhere. You already did mention taxis. Yes, just very shortly.
If I could just mention once again, is I think the only way we're really going to get that one under control is if Big Brother is watching at instant fines. And that's what I mean by really good CCTV cameras that are face recognition, license plate recognition, and immediate fining to actually bring that under control, because we agree what is happening at the moment is not sustainable, it's not conducive, and it's becoming extremely dangerous for all residents at this juncture. So technology, technology, technology. And again, I would like to encourage anybody in the room, if you'd like to put a CCTV camera up in front of your office, please contact City Police. They will really, really take hands with you, work with you, and we can set up one quite quickly and very unbureaucratically, and it will really help us to do our job better. Thank you.
Great, we got superb input from Mrs. Figaji. I will not call your colleague because you answered nearly all the questions that we had. Thank you very, very much. Give her a big round of applause. You will have noticed that when we started at macro and micro from Roland Brown, then we had the overview from NIPDB that we're going down to the nitty-gritty stuff, you know, the things that need to work in order to make the things up there work. So the next one who will address the nitty-gritty stuff is BIPA, that is Aina Kaunda, the acting CEO. I'm so pleased that she's here, really, really, because there will be questions, and we follow the same concept that we had earlier. You introduce yourself and your level of field of work. Yeah, we will need that. And then later for the questions of the floor as well. And I'll stand aside. And then the questions from the floor. So first of all, thank you very, very much. You have not been in this office for very long. I know there was Ms. Kachiongwa who was there before you. So quickly explain to us in really just 2 minutes what BIPA is all about, why should we work with BIPA, and what your role is, which as CEO is, of course, self-explanatory.
Yeah, no, I thought that was quite self-explanatory, but we're glad to be here. It is a sacrifice. I don't have a daughter who is having a matric graduation or farewell party, but this is the only day that I get to sleep until at least 1 o'clock. So this is a huge sacrifice for me personally. So if I look a little bit grumpy, it's me, Aina. But as BIPA, we are ready to engage. So what do we do? Of course, I'm glad to have our honorable who transformed Home Affairs. And part of the mandate of Home Affairs is to be able to formalize the existence of our citizens by producing birth certificates. So what BIPA does is what Home Affairs does for people, we do for legal entities. So just in a nutshell, so we provide the licenses. We don't produce the businesses. The business owners produce them, but we then give them that formal recognition of existence. So that is the one mandate, and I think that is why we are all here. The second mandate is we're talking about competitiveness, we're talking about innovation. So once you do your business, we want you to be innovative in doing your business. We want you to distinguish or differentiate yourself. So the second mandate is the protection of intellectual property rights. I think with that, we are ready to take questions.
My first question is, when will business community have access to full online registration at BIPA?
That is simple. I'm sure that we have seen that finally, after 35 years, the CPPN has awarded a bidder for an online integrated business registration system. Of course, we wanted to move faster, but we also appreciate the importance of due diligence because we had earlier from, I think, Roland, who said if we did the NIF right, we would be somewhere. So we don't want just to have a system, but then we have to do it again. So we really want to make sure that we do it right. So we are still in that process of contractual arrangements, but we want to push once it moves from CPPN to BIPA. that we are able to, by next year, I have our digital transformation executive here. So by next year, I can commit on her behalf that we should be having some of those critical modules online.
Okay. Good. Next question is, the sole proprietors and partnerships are in a different position from a CC, for instance, or a PTY Limited. But for many other certificates that you require, for instance, the HVM or registration with the Namibia Tourism Board, you need a BIPA number. And if you're a sole proprietor, you cannot be registered for BIPA. Now, Mrs. Kachiongo once explained to me, NTV, Mrs. Kachiongo once explained to me that the act has to be changed for that. But since sole proprietors and partnerships are legal entities as well, when will BIPA change that?
So the sole proprietor discussion is an interesting one. So in terms of our laws, we have the vehicle of companies, we have a vehicle of close cooperation, then we have what we call defensive name, whereby you have not made up your mind as to what you want to do, but you already want to have your business name. So that defensive name, according to our law, it is valid for 2 years. And then you are only supposed to renew it for another 2 years. After that, you need to make a decision to either then transform into a close corporation or a company, or you don't do business. So that is the legal part. But in real life, what has been happening is we have been using, when I say we, I'm talking about business community, that defensive name as sole proprietor, whereby for 20 years, we were just operating or conducting business under that. It is not a legal entity. It is a way to just help you to prepare yourself to transform into a legal entity. So now, of course, laws are made, or the motivation for lawmaking process or lawmaking process is influenced by different factors. One of the factors is the reality of the market. I think what this has taught us is there is a market for smaller entities that do not wish to conduct business as a close corporation. And therefore, in our corporate law reform, one of the things we are looking at is really moving away from the close corporations, the PTYs and so forth, and coming up with, yes, a company or a corporate entity, but with different sizes. Then we are able to then address, there are those ones that perhaps are not even ready to transform into what we know currently as a close corporation, and so your requirements are different, your obligations are different, and so forth. So we are looking at really having like a build-up where you have the smaller, but you are still an entity, because a sole proprietor is not an entity. So we want to remove that. You are still an entity, but your obligations are different. And then you move to the second level and so forth. But of course, one of the things that we are very good at as humans, and I can speak for Namibians, is that we come and have an issue with the implementation of the law, because we either failed to influence the formation of the law, and so while we are now busy in the formation of the law, let us make sure that these things are actually addressed, because the law should not be BIPA's, neither should it be the members of parliament or the government, but it should really be responsive. And again, I know we will be addressing things that we have failed to do in 20 years, and when I say failed, it's all of us for 20 years, but also let us get the insight to make sure that we also have a law that can address 20 years from now.
I totally understand. I just suspect that you will have very many illegal entities after that new act has been introduced. And another very many illegal entities are this list that was recently sent to me of all those churches and Section 21 companies and so forth that have never renewed at BIPA. And I counted them, they are 114,000. How will you ever be able to rectify that?
So the 114, they're actually not only churches in Section 21,
but many.
It's the whole.
Many churches.
It is the whole, it's the whole businesses. It's the whole businesses. We have a database of about 230 entities, which include the companies and the close cooperation, and then the Section 21. The Section 21 is actually one of our lists. Can you just give me the numbers for the Section 21? It's one of our lists, close cooperation being the highest. About 8,000 or so are
Section
companies.
21.
Yes, Section 21, 3,515.
Yeah.
Those are our Section 21.
So 3,000, Section 21. And companies?
27,000.
27,000. Yeah, and then the rest. And then the rest from the 230. So we are looking at about 30,000, you can say it's your Section 21, and the companies which are registered under the Companies Act, and then the rest, 200,000 are the close corporations. Of that, about 100,000 are compliant in terms of them filing the information of their beneficial owners, yes, BO. And so filing BO is an indication to us that you are still doing business. Of course, they are non-compliant on paying their annual duties, which gives us the capability of maintaining your company on the register, but that's a different discussion. So what do we do with 100? In terms of deregistering, it's very easy. It's by the click of a button. So we had a press conference, but we are not a deregistrar. We are a registrar. So our interest really is not to deregister. Our interest is to register as many as possible. But we are aware that there are those that are dormant. There are those that have never operated since their inception. So what we have done now is really with the help of the business community, the different sections, is to allow the business community to allow time to the business community for them to see whether they're able to get their members to just give an indication by the filing of their beneficial ownership and the paying of the annual duty that they are still active, or they would still like to be active in the business. So deregistration is not difficult. It's by a press of a button, but we are not in the business of deregistration. We do it because we have to.
Okay. So you don't actually prefer that option?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. 3 short questions. Over there, please, will you come to the microphone, or the microphone will come to you? Right, you next. But there was a question there at the back. Will you hand him the microphone, please? Patrick, this is the gentleman.
Thank you, Julia with B3. Just a really short questions. Can you explain the reasoning for, and if there are any plans on changing the frankly overbearing rules about company naming in Namibia, like no numbers, these frankly ridiculous descriptors that need to be added? Just think that if Amazon came to Namibia, they wouldn't be allowed to call themselves Amazon Namibia, ETY or whatever. They had to be like Amazon warehousing and selling and
Investment trading, CC.
Well, very good question.
Yeah. Okay, so can I not couple them?
You could also couple
Yeah,
them.
I think
Yes,
let me
if you
couple them.
prefer.
Yeah.
So then we have question number.
Yes.
Then we have question number 2, Mr.
Lots of things. We talked about the integrated system. One of the biggest challenges about the systems with government are that they are not integrated. And specifically when I'm talking about the NAMRA system, the BIPA system. So it is the plan to make sure that they talk to each other, that they're part of an integrated system plan. And again, if we want to remove red tape, this is essential to have kind of like a linked system where one thing actually triggers the other and vice versa, so the information will constantly duplicate and you don't end up running from A to B. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Wow, we really have been making good progress here with the question.
Okay, so I don't forget. While he's taking, I can answer.
Yes, certainly.
Yeah, so I don't
She
forget.
will answer the first 2.
Yeah, then unless if they are related,
Is it related?
I can take.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So on the business names, there are some of those things. Again, I'm a very practical person. I don't hide behind guidelines and policies and so forth. And I don't hide behind blaming those that came before us, whether apartheid system or colonialism. I think we have the opportunity to do what we do now. So in terms of those business names, trust me, those are the things that we are asking ourselves to say, why? Because the law does not require it. But there must have been, perhaps at the time, some wisdom that those that were there at the time, that they needed to have all these descriptors. But where we are now, it's really not necessary. And even though we have not made it official, we have allowed names without descriptors, but what we need to do is just to formalize it because it is not a law. If we were challenged in court, I don't think we would have survived. But again, I don't want to blame those that were here in 1973 when we started with our business registration. But perhaps what we failed to do for all these years is to question every administrative process that we had. So that one, again, I can tell you, we don't need a law for that. It's something that we are doing away with.
Just do it.
Yeah, this is just a matter of just do it now. So, and then secondly, oh my God, what was the
What was this?
Oh, integration. Thank you very, very much. So we tried, and I think NIPD spoke to it. We tried to have what was that called? But what the window, the single window, where we wanted to bring together BIPA, the local authorities, the Social Security, NAMRA, I can't recall who else, and we used to really have very good meetings. That's why I think after 35 years we have spoken enough. If we can't do it, let's not meet. So because we are still here, but the system that we are procuring has the capability of the integration, but we are aware that system integration does not start at system integration. There must be policy integration. There must be people, in other words, the leadership of these entities must be able to integrate in the mind to see that we have one process, because now everyone is focusing on their own. I want to improve BIPA. We don't care what City of Windhoek is doing. We don't care what Social Security is doing. So we do have, in fact, this week, I will be meeting our seasoned leader at Social Security to start this discussion. We do have a plan to meet NAMRA as well. But with NAMRA, we have heard these discussions. Again, it's just a matter of they do have the system capability. We are still buying our system capability, and so that we can just plug in. We will also engage the local authorities, all those ones that are in that starting of business, because when we hear starting of business, we just think about BIPA. And we used to say it's not our problem, but it is our problem. So we really, one of the things is, yes, the system will bring the capability, but we need to integrate at mind first. We need to integrate at the leadership, at the policy, and so forth. So that is also in the pipeline. So if come next year we have this engagement, that thing has not taken place, don't invite me.
We will invite you, because there will be other sessions.
Accountability.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kaunda. There was one more question, I think.
I'm not related.
You're not related to Zambia.
President.
Okay, great. So we have one last question, also short and sweet, please.
Good day, my name is Tim Go-Arid. My background is a technical one, so I want to challenge you on that. Ms. Kaunda, thank you for being available. As an entrepreneur when registering a business, today I can't just choose Namibia, I can choose globally, where do I want to register my business. In the last year or two, I've registered a business elsewhere. It took me 14 days or less to be operational, all paperwork, all registrations done, bank account, and able to receive online payments. I am currently in the process of registering a company locally. It has taken me longer than that to get a response from BIPA for the defensive name. We have the right plans, or we are talking about the right topics. My question to you, what does the team look like, and where will you find the skills to make it happen? As Mr. Hesh said, let's do it. But ultimately, it comes down to the technology and the skills to implement it. And with the tech background, I know that that technology is readily available. So my question, how are we going to make it happen?
Capacity.
Thank you very much. Yes, does BIPA have the capacity? And sometimes it's just answering an email that is lacking. Give us a very short answer on that, please, Ms. Kaundu.
We do have capacity. When you're talking about capacity, I would love to believe you are talking about the resources and the skills and the competence. So on the people side, we do have the capacity. On the technology side, I do have our digital transformation executive here. That is the process that is we are just waiting to be finalized from TPP. And I know we do have the technology. I know that. But if we just came to you straight, then this role they will be writing in the newspaper, and they will say that BIPA just went and gave a tender to this one. So there must be that due process that we must follow. And sometimes the due process has its pros and has its cons. But I think on a balance, I think those that had the wisdom at the time, they felt rather we go through time and do the right thing rather than trying to solve this painful experience of our entrepreneur. But at least once we do it right, we will do it well. So I would like to just place it on record that as we speak now, with the latest numbers that we looked at, our business registration was at the most 5 days, unless if you had mistakes. If you had mistakes, then yes, it will take longer. So, but we are looking at 70% that is able to go through within 5 days. But that may not be your experience personally. It may not be your experience personally. So I also challenge you to come to me. I challenge you to come to me, because what the numbers are telling me is within 5 days, some are being registered within 2 days. Our name reservation is being done in 45 minutes. You can sit there, unless if there are mistakes. Yeah, he's shaking his head, and that is very normal because we are looking at the BIPA of 2019. But I challenge you to come and see me. 14 days. Okay, that is your experience, and I take it very seriously. So, and those are the cases that we need to look at as to why they are taking 40 days, because it should not take any 40 days. Okay, yeah.
Great.
Very good.
Thank you so very, very much. I see there is a raised arm, but we will not be able to have that. There will be more questions, hopefully time for more questions when everybody is closed, but we have many panelists. And you know what? That is actually a very good sign. We approached many entities to stand here and be confronted by ourselves and have entertain critical questions, but they all came. So please
Sunday morning.
Value that
as well. Sacrifice.
Yes. Ms. Kaunda, you can go back to get more. Next one here is NAMRA. That's Mr. Haindula. Mr. Haindula, I hope I didn't scare him. I hope, okay. We perhaps will come back to Mr. Haindula later. Let me find the next person. Then the next one will be Home Affairs.
Here we are.
It's a hot one. Eh?
Yes, it's a hot one.
Yeah.
I will still only take 3 critical questions from the floor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much
You.
for being here, Mr. Haindulu. Thank you very much for standing in for your
Nilenge.
Nilenge, that's right.
Yes.
Oh, Max Nilenge, of course. I missed my line here.
No problem. No problem.
Again, please quickly explain your role at the ministry. And then I have 3 critical questions, and there will be 3 from the floor. No more.
Thank you.
And move a little bit to this side so that our streaming people can also see what it looks like.
Great. Thank you. I'm Max Nilenge, Deputy Director for Visa and Permit. My role at immigration is to process visa. Is to process the visa as well as the employment permit. What we are actually doing is to prepare the incoming application for visa and permit to the various committee as well as to the Immigration Selection Board that normally does the decision of granting or rejecting.
Okay, that was short and sweet. So the first one is, all work visas bring income to Namibia. All tourism visas bring income to Namibia. All permanent residence visas bring income to Namibia. Why is it still so difficult to get any of those?
Yeah, thank you. This is a challenge of that we observe, that why it is difficult to get the employment permit as well as the permanent resident permit. What we observe is that we have got a number of incomplete applications that lead to this rejection of these applications. And also what we observed is that a lot of motivation letters and the support documents that have been provided to the ministry actually does not carry the clear volume, especially, let's say, the motivation letters that we normally receive. We observe that many companies just do copy and paste. And if we read some of these letters to the Immigration Selection Board, normally the board decide to decline, unfortunately, these applications because there is no clarity why you need these skills. What the board is looking at, if it have to grant, they have to check first that, is these skills not readily available in Namibia? And if the skill is not readily available in Namibia, then it's up to the company to clearly stipulate that we have got a shortage, we advertise this position, and unfortunately, the candidates that apply for this position does not qualify to be recruited. These are some of the challenges. And if it comes to the visa, we observe that many a times visa applications are being rejected because some companies don't want to stay long on visa. Remember that the committee that deals with visa is only mandated to give visa up to 3 months in a calendar year. Now we observe that many companies want to exceed this period. And in most cases, they are advised to go to full employment permits. Now, if we come to full employment permits, we have got 2 different types of employment permits. Number 1, we have got the employment permit for those that are not resident in Namibia. What does it mean? These are people that normally come to Namibia on an interval basis, come to perform something and go back to their country of origins. But we find that many companies apply for these people a full employment permit instead of us asking for a multiple entry employment permit that normally have got less requirements if it comes to approvals.
It seems to me that the process is made unnecessarily difficult, Mr. Nilenge. And I think many people here would agree. I have a question on permanent residence, and after that, I would quickly like to hand the microphone to Mr. Schlitzel, who is an investor to Namibia.
Okay.
And he will quickly explain how difficult it was for him. But then my last question is...
Could I have some water?
Wait a little bit, Patrick. We still need those microphones. My last question is, there seems to be a holdup from the Ministry of Home Affairs in issuing permanent residence at the moment. And apparently it has to do with a court case of people going to court against Home Affairs. And since then, everything is put on ice. Is that the case? And when can people safely apply for permanent residence? And also, I have a follow-up question. There are lots of rumors in Namibia that permanent residence is issued on the proviso that you pay a bribe. And I would like you to answer that one as well. And I'm sorry that I have uncomfortable questions.
No problem. Yes, if it comes to permanent resident permit, unfortunately, we have got a pending case at Supreme Court. That is a Koch case. And I will not dwell more on this case. This case is actually having to do with a decision that was taken by the Immigration Selection Board. That is on section 27.3D. This question has to do with the means of sustenance. Can you sustain yourself if you are in Namibia? And how much investment did you bring to the country? Now, the problem on this issue is the board have got different caps of baselines where they look at what did you bring to Namibia and how long have you been staying in the country and can you sustain yourself? Now, this is a tricky question because people have got that understanding that, come on, Home Affairs, if I can provide school for my kids, I can feed my family, I can pay all my utilities and services. Why do you ask me to give you means of sustenance? I have not come one day to the government and say, government, can you pay school for my kid? So these are challenges that we are getting from the general clients that are aspiring to apply for the permanent resident permit. And as I say, all the permanent resident permit were put on hold, awaiting for the outcome of the Supreme Court decision that we understand it will be presented over on the 18th of November. That will now give the direction, if it comes to means of sustenance. What should a person have to apply for permanent resident permit?
So there will be figures basically linked to that application. You need to show that you have enough income over the year in order to live in Namibia.
Obviously, there will be figures attached to that decision so that at least the board should be consistent in dealing with all the application of permanent resident permits.
Okay.
Yes.
And now quickly the answer to the question, are you aware of corruption taking place and people handing out, or perhaps not handing out, but accepting bribes for permanent residence?
Yeah, that is a rumors that had been there ongoing. We listen to it and we are accused on a daily basis that we issue permanent resident permit. But as I told you, all the permanent resident permit were put on hold. But of late, 2 weeks ago, the Immigration Selection Board was advised otherwise by the Office of the Attorney General that it will be unfair to put every PRP case on hold based on an individual case that was launched by individual person. On that basis, applications have been considered currently and had been considered, and most of the people who apply for permanent residence had been receiving their outcomes. Now, if it comes to those allegations, I won't be able to tell you, but as you know, if an allegation is there, a person is free to launch his or her complaint to the relevant authority. We have got the Anti-Corruption Commission, we have got the Namibian police, and we have got all those security clusters where you can go and open your case and present your evidence so that whoever is involved in some of these allegations should be brought to book.
Thank you very much for that. I just suspect that people will not do that because they fear that their chances of getting a permanent residence will then certainly be zero. Mr. Stitzel, would you quickly tell your story, please? I'll give you a couple of minutes. I know it's been positive and negative.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate the option to share my story, and I was invited here from the forum. I definitely need a few minutes, but it's I think it's needed to have the possibility to get in contact with the best practice, I can tell you, and the worst practice as well. So when I first met this country last year, I quickly saw the beauty of it and the challenges and opportunities as well. And as I'm an entrepreneur from Germany, in fact, I'm the president of the Chamber of Commerce in Berlin. I saw the challenges on both sides, on both countries. The challenge here definitely is, we talked about it, Roland said pretty much about it, the unemployment, especially the unemployment of the youth, of the Namibian youth. On the other hand, in Germany, we have a huge lack of skilled workers. And the GDP is decreasing in terms of the lack of skilled workers. So there, as a good entrepreneur, there's I think a win-win situation could be there to link both of this together. And that's why I worked on a concept last year called the Talents Bridge Initiative, where we try to face these two challenges with two opportunities. So the first is you have this famous, well-known apprenticeship program from Germany, the dual vocational training, which leads to, I don't know who of you is familiar with the NQF levels, but it leads to level 4, 5, 6, so higher than the vocational training centers graduation is in Namibia at the moment. So we're getting very skilled, very well-skilled people if we put them in a German standard apprenticeship. But the integration into a labor market is pretty much difficult. That's why we thought about bringing the apprenticeship to Namibia, not pulling your young people to another country, to a foreign country, but let them stay here and train them here on a German standard, on this higher NQF levels. To train them here, we need a practical part, because the German standard apprenticeship is pretty much about practical training. It's more than 50% practical training. And you all know, and we heard about it a lot, micro is feeding the macro, and there is a lack of micro. So we thought about, what about bringing the companies from Germany also here, or from all over Europe, or from, let's say, the global north? Because Namibia has the potential, and it's maybe, Roland said it, the most interesting place to invest in, but we need to tell them. So that's why I started this concept and asked companies from Germany, are you interested in establish a subsidiary in Namibia? Or maybe joint venture with a Namibian company, and therefore get in contact with the locals of Namibia, and we take your problem of the skilled workers, because we put the apprenticeship, the German standard apprenticeship, just on the side. And so you definitely have your skilled workers directly in your new established company in Namibia, and you can decide if you have enough job opportunities in Namibia, or there are increasing job opportunities in Namibia, of course, because the economy is increasing. Maybe it's not that fast increasing like we all want, but it is increasing. So Additionally to the new job opportunities in Namibia, there are the possibility to get into a job experience in Germany, in Europe, stay there for a few years, collect some money to establish a new own business here in Namibia. And now we're back to Roland's thesis. We need the small businesses here in Namibia. Therefore, we need skilled people, and we need skilled people that have at least a bit of money to start their own company. So putting all this together, I talked to a lot of people here in Namibia, to Harald, to the Forum, to many entrepreneurs here, and they said, okay, Sebastian, if you want to get this done, you need to be here and take the management under control. So that could be happen. So I decided to move here and to establish a dual vocational training center called Talents Bridge in Namibia. And for moving here and to making business here, what do I need? I need a work permit because it's not on a tourist visa, it's on a work permit. And that where the challenge began. And I needed to write this down because otherwise I would not remember all of this. So to get here we're on an employment permit, I had to provide a company good standing. Oh, maybe I should make this one more notice. So maybe I made a mistake. I made the mistake that I thought, okay, maybe I establish the company up front. So last year already, I registered at BIPA, a new company called Talents Bridge to run the project. So, and then I applied for an employment permit. So company good standing, a Social Security Commission certificate, a proof of employment equity. But I just established the business, so there are no employments, and so there is no proof of employment equity. A good standing at NAMRA, okay, that would work very fast. And then an additional question was the tax clearing certificate. So my advisor said to me, okay, this took like 2 months. I said, okay, but I don't have 2 months because I decided in November and I wanted to start here in January. So, and you know all about this December, January thing. So in the end, it was waived, but you know that I'm in trouble. There's some very practical part of it. You need to pay your permit in advance. And they advised you not to do an EFT, because EFT would take very much longer. So please pay it cash at the ministry. I said, okay, but I'm in Germany and I wanted to have a permit to get to your country. How should I pay cash at the ministry? That's where Forum comes back in the game again, because someone at the Forum was so kind to pay it cash. And I, of course, refunded afterwards when I came here. Revenue stamps. I never heard about revenue stamps, but there should be revenue stamps on the forms as well. And of course, proof of funds, business plan, a personal tax registration. Okay, I'm not even there, but I need a personal tax registration. And of course, in original version, not a copy, not a original version. So to make it a bit shorter, I started here as a tourist, getting my temporary work permit like a few days after I arrived here as a tourist. A temporary work permit lasts for 3 months, so you can provide all the other stuff. And I got my employment permit exactly, and there was the example Harald told us, exactly 1 day before I had to leave the country, otherwise, because there's no permit and high fines and so on. So, and to make all this complete, what maybe you all not know is that there were a few other things to manage in Germany as well, because I need an X-ray of my chest. It's because of I have no lung disease for my work permit. None of the tourists need an X-ray chest, X-ray of chest, but if you come here to work, you need this. And you need to know that in Germany, X-ray is not that you make it if it's not necessary. So I come to the doctor and said, I need an X-ray of my chest. And they're, why? Do you really want this? You need to sign that you are recognizing the risks of an X-ray of your chest. But I needed to come here for as longer than as a tourist. Passport photos, police clearance, everything in original. And the funny part of it, I finally got my employment permit. And one day before I need to leave. And then I asked one of my employees in Germany, hey, Namibia is that nice. And we want to establish here a really great project. Are you interested in coming here? And there's a great thing I just found out from the NIPDB, the digital nomad visa. That's really easy. You have 6 months time to get to know the country, the opportunities and all of this. It's very easy. You can apply for it online. And he said, yes, of course, that's a great idea, Sebastian. I come and try this. But then he applied, and then there comes the list of the requirements. And what should I say? It's the same procedure like mine. He wanted to come to Namibia with a digital nomad visa from February to July. He arrived in May and left in June because the digital nomad visa was only manageable with the help of an NPDB, the same with my employment permit as well. So thank you very much for the people at the forum, Harald, and the NIPDB. So that's why I said it's a best practice for the services NIPDB provides, because if you need help, then the NIPDB helps. As a facilitator, that's what Jessica said, they can only manage and link things. They cannot change, or maybe the policymakers could change something. But thank you very much for letting me in. Thank you very much for helping the country with this Talents Bridge project. I want to tell you more about it if you want, but it's not the topic today. But I just wanted to share this story. So it's not really easy to bring investors here. And I have a lot of investors that are interested in establish their company here. And but I need to avoid this story from them. Otherwise they won't come.
Mr. Sebastian,
Thank you.
Sebastian, it's a thank you very much. The question is, Mr. Lilenge.
Yes.
What will the Ministry of Home Affairs do to make the process easier and to become a more investor-friendly entity? Because we heard earlier, every investor will bring jobs, every investor will bring capital, every investor will alleviate poverty in Namibia. Why is it so difficult, and what will you do to change it to an easier process?
Yeah, thank you. As you know, the current Immigration Control Act of 1993 is almost 32 years old. And this Immigration Control Act, we realize that it has got a lot of challenges. In itself, it's not investment friendly, as it's stated here, because it has got quite a lot of administrative requirements. Based on that, the ministry is in the process of a migration bill that we crafted and is still at, I think this the migration bill is now being reviewed by legal drafters to do some inputs and it will still come across to various business community to give their inputs. So the migration bill actually will be the answer to most of these challenges and inefficiency that was highlighted by my colleague that presented here. Because at the present moment, we cannot do away with the current bureaucracy of administrative requirements, but because these are gazetted requirements. Unfortunately, you have to do a radiological report, a medical certificate report, an X-ray report. That is, if you apply for an employment permit or a work visa, starting from 6 months upwards, you have unfortunately to give most of these requirements because these are gazetted requirements. But as time goes on, with the new leadership that took the ministry over, we are now trying to review. And this is also at the same time the best spot doing this, because it's good to listen to the business community as well as to our clients. What are the challenges? What are the difficulties? Is there no better way of speeding up applications so that we cannot lose an investment opportunity?
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you so very much.
Okay.
This time I will only allow 1.5 questions because we are running out of time. Yes, please, you know the procedure.
Thank you again. I basically just wanted to ask quickly if the authorities are aware of a massive chicken and egg problem in the whole coming here, setting up your company, and then getting the work permit process. Because ultimately, to fulfill all the requirements for a work permit, including, for example, the tax clearance certificate that you spoke about, basically all the NAMRA stuff, you need a bank account, a company bank account. And if you go to any bank here and say, good morning, I'd like a company bank account, they tell you, either you're Namibian or you have a work permit. Do you see the issue there? It's a chicken and egg problem.
Or you need a tax number.
The only thing that worked for us was, luckily, we had private contacts, so we had someone as a stand-in, a Namibian. But you can probably imagine my boss's face when I told him, yeah, listen, we're going to have to give all our company's finances as a sole signatory to a random person you've never met. Yeah, let's do this. Otherwise, we can't do anything in this country. Like, that is a loophole in the whole process that, in my opinion, needs to be fixed either by giving out like a founder's visa that is 6 months, so you have enough time for all the bureaucracy, or at very least enable, I don't know, tourist visas to do such simple things as register a car, open a bank account, because currently I was advised by the NIPDB to come here as a tourist. You can't do anything at all.
Thank you very much. You know, I hope you're still in Windhoek in about 6 months' time, because there's going to be a second and a third and a fourth session of our Ease in Doing Business. I know you now are good, but there will be others. And we did want to invite the banks as well, as a representative of the banks, representative of MTC, for instance, representatives of Telecom, because internet issues are a huge problem, etc., etc. So there will be many more sessions like this one. Thank you very much. I'm sure you cannot say anything on behalf of the banks.
Sure, certainly.
Thank you very much. So we have that last half question that is still left that I give you an opportunity for. No. Yes, but you're also the next speaker.
Sorry, Mr. Master, on the spot. But then recently when I arrived by the airport, then we are supposed to see visas as an answer or a solution to the complex visa arrivals, and we really make a lot of money from it. But the queues are actually very long. But I don't want to speak about Germany. I think, sorry about that, but there needs to be reciprocity as well in terms of visa applications. And also Europe, same as in Namibia. But then what saddens me is that when I come at the airport, I also have to talk about there is really a big congestion. I'm worried that we are really gambling with our tourism.
I totally agree. That's a very good question. I know that tourists stand in that queue until about 3 hours sometimes. And I once arrived at Hosea Kutako, all international planes were already gone. So they had left already again, but there were about 300 people still in that hall. And they were then obviously waiting and waiting and waiting. So yes, the original idea was probably not a bad one of that reciprocity. If Europe doesn't let us in, why do we leave them in? But aren't we cutting off our nose in order to spite our face? So is there anything in the way, on the way that Home Affairs can do to improve these things?
Capacity.
Yeah, thank you very much. Once more, we are aware of this problem at the airport, especially for our tourists that are coming and staying in long queues. The team is busy currently working around the clock to look at solutions. And very soon, the ministry will make a statement of going forward, of easing this congested hall where people are standing for long to be processed into the country. So it is a question of time. I don't want to excite you so that tomorrow you can say, but you promised us when we were at the business forum that very soon you will implement ABC. Yes, we are fully aware. And we are working around the clock with our technicians as well as our IT expert to look at ways how we can fast track people not to stand long in the queue and come and look at the beautiful scenery of Namibia.
Good, so you're aware of the problem.
Sure.
Mr. Nileke, you have been very patient with our questions and answers. Thank you very much. Please come back next time.
Thank you very much. And please, I'm still here. If there are some further engagement, we can still talk outside. Thank you.
As I said earlier, people from public enterprise, from public entities knew that they would face difficult questions, but they still came, and we're very grateful for that. Next one here will be an easier one.
How many do we still have?
I have to look on my, I have Mr. Rodney Kwai, and from the Namibia Trade Forum, then we still have the Namibia Planning Commission, and I have to look on my list whether that's it. Is that anybody else who I left out? No. Okay, then it's now.
We are running late. Are you all okay with it?
Yes.
Carry on.
I think questions won't be quite as difficult any longer. Mr. Rodney Kwai, thank you very much. I've been practicing your name, and I must say here that I feel in Namibia we must be more aware of how people's names are pronounced, especially the clicks don't always come easy. But neither do those strange dots on the vowels of the German names come easy, the ers, as, and us. So I think we must all practice more Namibian names. So thank you very much, Mr. Gwab. Here, second microphone.
Thank you very much.
And first of all, again, Mr. Gwab is the acting CEO of the Namibia Trade Forum. We've known each other for quite some time because I'm on the board of directors of the Namibia Trade Forum, and he will quickly explain his role and the biggest challenges, perhaps, and then I get to my questions.
Thank you, Benita, and beautiful afternoon or day to the panel that is here on a Saturday. And also under your guidance and leadership, the Namibia Trade Forum is an agency of the Ministry of Trade. My name is Rodney White, and I'm also an economic research analyst. And then coming here and standing here, it's a privilege for me. But the Namibia Trade Forum aligns with public-private dialogue. So we carry out to ensure that there is fair engagement between the government and the private sector. It was initially started in the year 2010 or 2011, and the first biggest policy tool implemented was the retail sector charter. It was around 2017. It took on the negotiations in the AFCFTA from 2012 up until it was implemented in 2018, and then the 21st of March in 2022. And then from there, the Namibia Trade Forum has also been very instrumental in setting up, in assisting the growth at home policy. There was 11 strategic sectors: agriculture, chemicals, salt, and all the other sectors. And now that the policy is phased out, we have survived all the different EDs in Ministry of Trade. And now we are at the juncture where we're helping with new agencies and IPDB in terms of the public-private forum. We work on the AFCFTA agreement. We are the Secretariat Office for the Africa Continental Free Trade. We ensure that businesses have a fair ground for negotiations. Then in 2017, the Namibia Trade Forum was instrumental in terms of the implementation of the SADC Trade-in Services Protocol, where Namibia has liberalized the trade in SADC region for finance, for transport, tourism, for construction sector, and also, so these basically sectors were negotiated as a country, but Namibia's Trade Forum also ensures that there's a fair representation from business. Thank you very much.
Tell me quickly, how far is retail charter and growth at home? Retail charter was supposed to give ordinary supermarkets the chance to introduce more Namibian products, and growth of home was the goal was to grow more Namibian products. How are we doing?
Thank you, Benita. The current local market, especially in the agro-produce sector, is doing very well. What happened was the retail charter did not the secretary did not effectively implement the duties of the council because of the financial and the resource constraints. But what happened was the businesses used the platform of the policy to find a way into the market. That is why actually initially the retailers that were present during the negotiation of the retail charter and also signed and party to it saw that they have a mandate and obligation. And that's why we have really good testimonies in most of the retailers that have really opened the market to the local produce.
Yes, we can see that, and I find that very encouraging. And I tell everybody who visits Namibia, if you have the choice between a South African and a Namibian product, even if it's a couple of dollars more, you buy the Namibian product. There's no alternative. Second question, the Africa Free Trade, I always struggle with that.
AFCFTA.
You're much more practiced than I. What benefits does that hold to Namibian business environment?
Thank you very much once again. The AFCFTA was built on the premise of ensuring that we can boost African trade into a $2 trillion market with a combined population space of 1.3 billion Africans. And also to ensure that you can access, it's the biggest trade agreement in the world. And we know that in the wake of the tariffs, the 54 countries that you can access in Africa ensures that instead of just going into areas where you may face higher tariffs in terms of your export produce, you can actually explore markets in Africa and where you can place these products. Reason being, most of the African markets are underexploited, and Namibia has a strategic advantage. We've seen from the presentation of Roland that it is a logistics hub, and we should capitalize on the strength of our infrastructure to access these markets. Reason being, it also has a very developed financial services market, and we don't really identify that. Namibia is one of the countries with a very strong sector in infrastructure, engineering, and all these aspects. Also, retail and wholesale. Namibia is one of the leading countries. If you look at the smaller countries in Africa, where we've locally raised retail brands like your Model, Womanbrock. Recently, there's a launch of fuel and retail, Nasan fuel and retail brand. Where else would you really see that local countries and young people in a country can take it up and open a retail fuel brand or brand service stations? These are far-fetched dreams that you really see. But I would say there are really low-hanging fruits where we can capitalize more. And also in the recent, South Africa was imposed 33% tariffs against the USA. For us, it was just 15%. So how do we capitalize on that to bring more investment here and to take things over to the European markets?
Namibia Trade Forum helped introduce the Namibian barcode. And I see that companies are now actually selling those barcodes, like one in Swakopmund, very well-known German company, forgotten. How are we doing? Are new companies, new businesses really making use of the Namibian barcode? And where can they go? Where can businesses go to register theirs?
So the NTF established the GS1 agency. The GS1 agency is responsible for the barcode system. But one significant success story I can tell is that barcodes are not anymore by the 631 number, the long number sequence, but now the new ones can actually just get a QR code. But what is so amazing about the QR code is you can just scan the product code, and then you can see the information about the product's timeline of production, sourcing, warehousing, and all the birthplace and everything of a product. Because it is new, it is keeping up with the tracking technology. It is under GS1. You can contact NTF and we can assist you in that regard. Thank you.
That's great. Also with relationship to the Africa Free Trade, if you want to export to another African country, please approach the Namibia Trade Forum. And the last one that you told me about recently, and I wasn't aware, was what you called TOME. And it has, to me, it has a kind of a whistleblower effect. Please explain what that is. And if you want to know about it afterwards, please approach Rodney, because this to me is a very important initiative. So please go ahead and explain.
The Namibia Trade Forum is also a secretariat to the National Trade Facilitation Committee with NAMRA, which means everything that NAMRA is battling with, a single window, preferred exporters and so on, we sit on the same committee. But then the ITC under WTO or UN established a tool where companies can report their trade obstacles. So the trade obstacles alert mechanism was launched last month. Currently, there are teams, NTF, Ministry of Trade, and then NAMRA. Those teams are in the regions giving businesses more advocacy about the tool to tell them that when you have something to complain, you can just go on the website without even having too much registration hassles, and then you can report that you had this challenge in terms of your imports and your exports. It is both for goods and services, and we're just working very strongly to make sure that there's more advocacy around marketing around it.
So just to be certain, if you face trade obstacles, you approach, log onto the website, TOAM.
Yes.
It's under the NTF website.
It's NTF, but the link by trade map, ITC trade map as well.
Please remember that, because if you face trade obstacles, that's exactly the way to go.
And NAMRA, all the responsible agencies will respond because they already, the trade officials are already party to the committee.
Very enlightening. Thank you very much. I will allow 3 short questions. It seems, Rodney,
we're doing well.
You are doing well, but also people are beginning to get tired. So, great, thank you very much, Mr. Rodney. Sorry, Rodney, yes.
Really a question for me, but
wait 1 second, Madam Minister.
yes,
we need to get a microphone to you.
Yeah, not a question, but a request rather. Some of us who are not living in Windhoek or in big cities do not have access to all this information. I'm very happy that Benita, you invited me yesterday to come over. Where can one get this package of all these linkages and information? Should one need it?
We will send it out to everybody who has given his email address.
Put it on our website.
And we'll put it on our website, the Forum of German-Speaking Namibians. We'll put it on the website. I think we'll ask our Karen Rotkegel over there, who has all your addresses and email addresses, and give you all the links so that you can access that information. But thank you very much. Very important question. Great. No other questions, Mr. Goip? And I'm practicing your name. I'm getting it right slowly but surely.
Yeah, good. Well done.
We have one more.
I think
Yes, our presentation will be on YouTube, if I'm not
Yes.
wrong. And then we will send the link out to the people and
then you can listen to the sections that you find most interesting.
thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much. And now our last person for today, I hope he hasn't deserted us yet. That's Mr. Manu Zikande from the National Development NPC, National Planning. Thank you very much. And you're heading the department advice. Now you will obviously have to explain to us what advice you do give and also the role that you play at NPC, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon. Is it already afternoon?
It's not evening yet.
Good afternoon. My name is Mano Wasikanda. I can just say Mano. I'm from the National Planning Commission. I'm glad actually to see, the Honorable also attending such forums. I think it's an encouragement, even to the young ones, to come get, all the information that is needed. The National Planning Commission, it's a commission by instituted by the Act of Parliament as well as by the Constitution of the Republic of Namibia, that there shall be a National Planning Commission. A National Planning Commission to plan and spearhead the cause of national development. What does this mean? It means that National Planning Commission has to set the scene on the priorities of the country. It's good that Roland has already spoken, about economics and all the things. Actually, what he has spoken here, that's what I would have also spoken about, GDP per capita, all those things on macro level. What I'm going to speak about is on macro level. It's good that, okay, he contrasted micro and macro. Now with the National Planning Commission, we have to plan on the macro level. That means we have a coordinating role to coordinate all these speakers who were here so that the doing of business in the country has become easier. That also lies with National Planning Commission. National Planning Commission also has got development partners coordination. We coordinate the discussions of our development partners, multilateral also or bilateral. We do that. So you can see on macro level, National Planning Commission is entrusted with that task. Recently, Her Excellency in July launched the 60th National Development Plan that was compiled, coordinated by the National Planning Commission. And this is the blueprint whereby everyone, including those that wants to come and do business in Namibia, they have to acquaint themselves, align their businesses to these priorities that are in there, or the priorities that we have set for our country, because these are the ones that we have identified as the priorities that should propel the economy, that should, tackle all the social evils that Roland has outlined here, the unemployment, the Gini coefficient that is, instead of reducing, it's also going up again. And then the poverty levels, all those. So it's these priorities that are in the 60th National Development Plan that we have to make sure that we run with them and then see the impact thereof in all these areas. In short, that's what I can say about the National Planning Commission. Thank you.
I stalked you a little bit. And your role is advice. You mean give advice to whom? To government, to investors, to business people?
Okay, thank you so much. The advice that the National Planning Commission gives is to everyone. Everyone, in the sense that we give advice to offices, the ministries, and then the agencies. These advices are such that even to the private sector, you check that in our 60th National Development Plan, we have a focus area about private sector. We want the private sector to flourish in the country, and the private sector is nothing but the business fraternity that have to come on board. the economy cannot be grown by the government. All these economies that are flourishing, they are taken up by the private sector. So when we advise, including the private sector. The business, economy, business entities, we also advise them. That's why I said that, our priorities in the 60th National Development Plan is for everyone to look into there and see which are these priorities if they want to do business. I was glad that, the gentleman who was here about, the skills. This we have been saying about it. We've been advising as National Planning Commission to say that when you want to set up, a training institution in Namibia, do a market research and then see which skills are really needed by the industry. Leverage on that. So in short, that's what I can say.
Mr. Sikandi, you mentioned NDP 6. It's a very voluminous document. And what many people noticed, and so did I, was that many chapters that you had in NDP 3 and NDP 4 and NDP 5, they always reappear. Are we not close to problem solution of at least one or two of those?
Thank you so much. The problems, we cannot just change, the document simply because we want to change. But the chapters, the pillars that are in there conforms to the problems that we want to solve. Let me say, okay, like in the 60th National Development Plan, we've got 4 pillars. The first pillar is to grow the economy. I won't go into details. The second pillar is to human development, where, the gentleman comes in. We have to develop, the people of Namibia. And the third one, we cannot leave out whatever that we do. Climate change is not leaving us alone. Environmental sustainability. And then the fourth one, the fourth pillar is about good governance. Whatever that we do, is it every penny that we put on the table, does it really trickle down and have an impact on the least person or the common person on the ground? So these are the pillars, and these are the issues that we want to tackle. Like, if the economy is not doing well, of course everyone will be affected. And then how do we grow the economy? Laurent has spoken about that. He went further even to speak about, we have to diversify. Diversification. This is nothing but instead of exporting, our product in raw form, but we have to add value. Yes.
Speaking again on your role of giving advice, sometimes I get the impression the bigger the business, the more you get punished for it. So if you would employ more than 10 people, you have to do all kinds of reporting, and it's not always easy, and you lack manpower to do it because your business is still small, even if you now have 11 staff members. So business as it grows seems to get punished. In your role as advisor at NPC, can you give input on these really issues that make life difficult for business people?
As an advisor, the gentleman, I don't know.
Mr. Schlitzer.
Okay. He mentioned about, these documents that he has to produce, and one of them is from the affirmative entity. Yeah, Employment Equity Commission. Why is it needed? Employment Equity Commission, they want to see that, a male and a female, they get equal opportunity. Previously disadvantaged, and those who were advantaged, they also get equal opportunity. Now imagine without the records of all that, how are we going to say we are getting, we are equalizing actually? How are we going to do that? I think that one, we just have to find an efficient way of doing it. We cannot run it. We need that statistics. Namibia Statistics Agency 2023 census they reported about, in these occupations, so many are female, so many, are male, so many are managers, so many and so on. The Namibia Labor Force Survey, it's coming shortly also to give us that statistics. If we don't have any record, where are we going to have?
So efficiency is required.
Exactly,
there.
efficiency.
Right, 3 questions from the floor, please. They're really tired now, Mr. Sikunda. They're really tired. There's one over there, please. And then we have a second one there, and Ms. Ula Itana again. Thank you very much. You also look tired, Ms. Ula Itana. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Very short. I would argue that the value of any plan lies only in the degree to which it is implemented. Does it also fall within your scope to measure to which degree previous development plans have been implemented? And is that information published anywhere, if it is even captured?
Okay. Thank you so much. Yes, we have published the review of the 5th National Development Plan to see how far we have gone. Actually, that is the stepping stone for us to formulate the 6th one. Yes, as a country, here and there we staggered, but here and there we improved. Where we did not improve, those ones are back into the 6th National Development Plan so that we can improve on them. You can get, that report on the National Planning Commission website. It's www.npc.gov.na. You have that, as well as the review of our long-term plan, the Vision 2030. We did that as well. So they are readily available for public consumption. So we do have, you mentioned, the monitoring and evaluation of these plans. You come up with good plans, but are they being monitored to see that, there is efficiency in them? We do have that monitoring and evaluation, and we are reporting to Cabinet biannually, and then annually we report on the progress of the programs and the projects that are being implemented. Where there are hurdles, where there are stumbling blocks, and then we do give recommendations for the implementers to try and adhere to that and improve. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think, okay.
The Honorable.
That one and the Honorable.
Hi, it's Shaliwa here. I think this question is both for NIPTV and National Planning Commission. For example, it's something that the community has been crying over regarding the Procurement Act. You can come up with an idea that is yours and that is good for implementation, but because of the Procurement Act, you cannot, a company or a public entity or an agency or an SOE cannot call you and have direct procurement with your idea. You still need to go tender against your idea with other, businesses. So I was wondering, what are you guys doing in that space? That cry has been coming for too long. With the triple Ps, the public-private, the partnership, it's also a bottleneck. NIPTV, I know on 1 or 2 projects have also had challenges in trying to facilitate those triple P, initiatives or projects. It's just a bottleneck that you can't come up with a triple P project because of the Procurement Act and all these ecosystems that need to play together, that don't play together. What are you guys doing in terms of that? That I can come and do business with the private organizations, with an SOE or an agency without having to go through the whole Procurement Act because it is my idea and so forth. So what are you guys doing in terms of policy and just streamlining those 2 important documents as well? Thank you.
Clearly a man with experience in this regard. What do you say, Mr. Sikunda?
Thank you so much. I think procurement has become, a thorn in the flesh. Why am I saying this? We just concluded our budget consultations 2 days ago. In this, our own offices, ministries, and agencies, when we ask them as to why is your execution rate on this program, on this project so low, the answer is the procurement is taking long, unnecessarily long for us to start implementing. This was a great, I remember the former Honorable Deputy Prime Minister John Mutora, when we had budget consultations, he said, this is the policy that we came up with. If it's not working for us, let us sit down around the table and review it and plug out those bottlenecks so that so that it can work for us. If it's not working for us, we cannot just sit and start, crying, mourning about it. What are we doing? We have to review it, remove those stumbling blocks in the Procurement Act so that the implementers, they can run, with the projects. What we need are the results. So it's being considered. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I get the impression that we have too many rules and regulations that are not speaking to the community. Before you run away, last question from you, really our last contributor today, Ms. Here you are.
Yes, thank you very much. I don't know whether this question is relevant to National Planning Commission. The issue of the rate of taxation in Namibia has been complained about as long as I have been in existence.
You're still existing, Honorable.
It's been so high. But nothing seemed to be done. Now, Roland, I'm sorry.
Roland.
Talked about setting, for example, brackets.
Yes.
Those that are now just starting, if the rate at which they should be taxed, that is not being considered. Now, the government came up with a plan to give funding to the youth.
Yes.
Where are they? How are they going to start? If really we are not considering this issue as a stumbling block. I don't know whether I put it in a question or just a comment, but whatever it is, I wanted to say something about it. The next issue is one of the pillars of NDP 6, environmental sustainability.
Yes.
I hope we are serious about this issue because other than talking about green energy, what are we doing about the rural community lifestyle? People are still, cutting down the trees, using it for energy. And unless we really approach this issue having in mind improving the lifestyle of the local ordinary people, then this environment is just a talk show.
Yes.
In my view. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable, for that question. Yeah, let me just start with the one that she just ended with. We have with Ministry of Industries, Mines and Energy, the rural electrification. Although it's moving at a snail pace, I would say so. Currently, I think the coverage is getting closer to 60%, somewhere there. However, let us also consider, the vastness of our country and the sparsely populated population, of our country. It's so expensive for all those. Imagine there is a pocket of population here, another one there, but to get this service, electricity service, it's very expensive. Yes, we go. They have, a solar program also. They have a solar program. There is a solar revolving fund under the same ministry, whereby those people at a lower rate of repayment. We are also advocating for that. It's good that also Laurent, that's why I said, Laurent did much of my talks. In the sense that What is it that I wanted to say now? I forgot.
Say that there is common ground between the public and the private sector.
Yes. He brought, the last slide there where he indicated, the input costs in our country. Let us just, call a spade, is very expensive. And this input comes to what the Honorable has just said. Electricity in Namibia is expensive. We did a study. I think in Southern Africa, maybe we're the most expensive. Yes, if I'm not wrong, we are most expensive. Now imagine these investors who want to come to Namibia, they do market research in terms of input cost. Who would want to come here? One, Lauren said that, our population, our market is very small, but the input cost is very high. What will I get out of that? I would rather go to a country with low input cost and the market is quite big. Then I get something. These investors, they are after making profit. They cannot just come here and uplift our standard of living, then they walk barehanded. They will never do that. So we have to look at that. We are aware of that, Honorable. The input cost, it's very high. We can even add on to say, even just the water that, we drink. It's also for industries, they need, water, but it's still expensive. We are busy, to your question, we are busy, talking to NAMRA, bulk supply to these entities. They are complaining about that. NAMPower, bulk supply on electricity. We are talking to them, we are advising them. It's very expensive. Then, as policymakers, we have to make, the environment conducive for role players. Now coming to your question on the tax bracket. Last year, if you had maybe followed, the Honorable Shimi when he tabled the budget, we have started looking at these tax brackets for corporate as well as for individuals. Why? Because we want to look at these social evils like the poverty. Let me start with those who are working, especially in government, who are earning 50,000. I think previously it was 50,000 per annum. They were not paying any tax. And this has been lifted to 100,000. Up to 100,000, you don't pay any tax. Why? So that at least you can have something in your pocket to buy, a 10 kg of top score and so on. It has to improve your livelihood. That's why we're doing that. It also comes to corporate tax also. It has been reduced also. We are coming, it has to be done gradually. It can't just be done, suddenly up to that level where we want it to be. We are collapsing the economy. It has to be done gradually. We are aware of that. And as policymakers, things are being tackled, but gradually. Thank you so much.
Mr. Sekunda, thank you very, very much. Thank you to all the panelists, all the speakers. Thank you for your patience and for your knowledge and for your honesty and honest answers that you gave us. Thank you so very much. And we do realize we did receive questions from our members that we perhaps have not addressed this time because there was a lack of time, as we all know, but we will have more of these sessions. And so this is really only the first one. So if you said previously yes to the meeting, then you will say yes again to the next meeting, but perhaps we won't have quite so many panelists. I know there was a raised hand. I cannot entertain that, unfortunately. I say thank you very much. I hand the microphone to our chairman and he can say thank you very much and go home.
No. We're not there yet. But first of all, a big round of applause for Benita for moderating a session which was not easy, 2 hours, but you did it very moderately.
Thank you. I did it moderately.
Very well done. Thank you. And all the panelists, all the questions, all the questions. One thing that I realize is we are very mature in this country. Politically, we are mature. We are talking openly and frankly to each other. We are not insulting each other. We are not accusing each other. This is the tonality that we need in this country. Let's continue with the dialogue. Before we all go home, we've still got a very exciting point here on the agenda, and we've got the, I'd say world famous, but at least Namibia famous economist, Robin Sherborne. Robin, are you still around? I see you there. Yeah, okay. Robin, we look forward to your presentation. Robin is an economist, and he's going to touch quickly on the summary of the lessons learned of today, and maybe also on how can the public and the private sectors move closer together and forward to harness Namibia's full economic potential for all. This is really the theme of today, harnessing Namibia's full economic potential for all. Thank you, Robin. We look very much forward to your presentation to liven up things here in the traditional graveyard session.
Ja, vielen Dank, Harald.
And I'm really sorry that I forgot about you.
Ja, kein Problem. So, guten Tag, meine Damen und Herren. Ich heiße Robin Sherborne, ich bin Volkswirtschaftler und ehemaliger Physiker.